She thought he was just a quiet old man who couldn't afford transport. Every morning she stopped and told him, "Come in. No pay today." But one morning, he wasn't at the usual spot, and what happened next would change her life forever. Who was this man, and what secret had he been hiding all along? This is the powerful true-to-life story of Chamaka, a struggling tricycle rider in Enugu, and the elderly man everyone ignored. Once upon a time in the busy and dusty streets of Enugu, there lived a young woman named Chamaka. She was just 26 years old, but carried the weight of life like someone twice her age. Every morning before the crowed, she was already awake, sweeping the front of the compound, warming water, and checking the engine of her old tricycle. The tricycle was her life. It was old. The yellow paint had peeled off in many places. The seat was stone. The steering made funny sounds, and the engine, it coughed and rattled like an old man with asthma, but it moved, and that was enough. She tied her brown scarf tightly, wore her old black jeans, and walked to decay like a soldier going to war. Her younger brother, Sumto, was still asleep on the mat inside their small one-room apartment. The ceiling was cracked. The walls were stained with old rainwater. No fan, no TV, just a mattress, a charcoal stove, and dreams. Chamaka didn't complain. She couldn't. Life had taught her that crying doesn't cook food. So she walked every single day, rain or shine. Even when she had malaria, she drove. Even when customers insulted her, she smiled. At exactly 6 o'clock Amos, she started the gay. It got 3 times before the engine came alive. "Thank you, Jesus," she whispered, pressing the throttle. She headed to Camp Junction, her regular starting point. People were already waiting. Some were rushing to the market, some to offices, others just wandering about. She stopped, picked up her first passengers, and zoomed off. Business was moving. She dropped people, picked others, collected money, gave change. Life was hard, but it was moving. But then something strange happened. It was around 7 o'clock a.m. when she returned to Junction. As she slowed down, her eyes caught a figure under the old mango tree near the junction. An old man. He looked tired. His shirt was big and dusty. His trousers looked faded. One of his sandals was torn, and he was carrying a small nylon bag, the kind used to carry tomatoes. His hands trembled slightly, and his eyes were sunken like someone who hadn't eaten in days. Chamaka slowed down and parked a cab beside the road. People were passing him like he didn't exist. Some even looked at him with disgust. One woman hissed and said, "Now, so them just they stand for road, the way to make person pity them go and beg now." But the old man didn't say a word. He just stood there quietly. Chaka looked at him again. Something about him felt different. He wasn't begging. He wasn't stretching his hand. He just stood quietly. She opened her mouth and gently called, "Papa, where they go?" The old man looked at her, then looked away like he didn't want to cause trouble. "You mark it," he said softly, "but I don't get any money." Aka looked at the 2 women already in H. They were holding bags of tomatoes and onions. One of them frowned. "I beg no carry beggars join us, so if it be madman." But Chamaka ignored her. She turned to the old man and said, "Enter no pay." He looked at her in shock. "You sure?" "Yes, Papa. Enter before another person take the space." He nodded slowly and climbed in, sitting at the far corner. The 2 women hissed but said nothing else. Chamaka started the K again and drove off. As she drove, she looked at the old woman through her mirror. He held his bag tightly and looked out like someone looking at the world for the last time. When they got to a wait, she stopped and turned to him. "Papa, we don't reach." He nodded. "Thank you, my daughter," he said softly. "No problem." She smiled. He got down slowly and walked away. That day, Chamaka didn't think much of it. Just another poor man. Just another act of kindness. After all, what was 100 naira compared to a human being's dignity? But the next morning, he was there again. Same spots, same nylon bag, same tired eyes. She picked him up again, no questions asked. Day after day, he kept showing up. She picked him up again and again, no questions asked. Passengers complained, some mocked her. One K-driver told her, "You don't turn charity home, Addie." She laughed and replied, "One day someone may carry me for free, too." They laughed at her. Some called her foolish, some called her soft-hearted, but she didn't stop. She gave him a name, Uncle J. He never said much. He just said thank you and walked away every time he reached his stop. But what she didn't know was that this old man wasn't who everyone thought he was. There was something deeper behind his silence, something strange behind those eyes, and very soon everything would change. Chamaka was not sure why she continued to carry the old man every day. Maybe it was because of the way he looked at her. Not with pity, but with pride, with quiet respect. He never begged her. He never begged anyone. He just waited at the same spot every single morning, wearing the same feathered shirt and holding the same black nylon bag. She had carried him for 11 days. 11 mornings of enter, no pay. And each time the old man would simply nod, step into the case slowly and say one word. Thank you, that was all. But on the 12th morning, something different happened. As Taka arrived at the Co-Camp Junction that day, he saw him already standing under the mango tree. But this time, he wasn't alone. 2 boys standing in front of him, laughing and harassing him, trying to snatch his black bag from him. As he struggled, one of the boys said, mocking him, "Be this old man. Remove everything really valuable for inside that your nylon, or you go see what you use enter for. In fact, you use leg work today." One of them said why both of them laughed. "Give us that bag," one of them shouted. The other laughed. "He not even get shape. See, they wait like a big man." Uncle J didn't say a word. He just looked at the ground. Chamaka stopped at and shouted, "Hey, leave him alone." The boys turned surprised. "What didn't concern you?" one of them asked. She came down from the keg holding her key tightly. I said, "Leave him." They hissed and walked away. Uncle Joe didn't even look up. He just stood still like a statue. Chamaka walked up to him and touched his arm gently. "Papa, don't mind them. You want to go tow?" He nodded. "Yes, my daughter." She smiled. "Let's go." As they rode through town, something sat quietly in Chamaka's chest. A question she hadn't asked before. Who was this man? Why was he always quiet? Why does he never beg? Why does he never miss a day? He didn't look mad. He didn't talk like someone with mental problems. His voice was slow but clear. His eyes didn't shake. He wasn't like the other beggars on the street. Something about him was different. 8 before he got down, Chamaka turned and asked, "Papa, where do you go every day?" He paused for a while and then said softly, "To watch." She asked. He nodded. "Yes, just to sit and watch." She didn't understand, but she didn't ask. Again. That afternoon after work, she visited Mama Ngazi, an elderly woman who sold roasted plantain not far from the junction. As they chatted, Chamaka mentioned the old man. "You mean that quiet one where they always wait under mango tree?" Mama Gozi asked. Chamaka nodded. Mama Goy dropped her knife slowly and looked at Chamaka. Chamaka raised a brew and said, "What?" "That man is strange. He's been standing under that tree for months now, before you even started carrying him." "Months?" Chamaka asked, surprised. She nodded. "Sometimes he just disappears for a week, then comes back. Some say he's a madman. Others say he's a prophet." "A prophet?" Chamaka blinked. "Yes," Mama Gozi said, slicing another piece of plantain. One woman swore that after she gave him water, her sick child started walking. Another one said that her shop began selling after giving him food. Chamaka looked away confused. "But he never says anything to me. He just sits quietly." Maybe you. Already chosen, my dear, Mango said, staring hard at her. Chamaka laughed awkwardly. Mama, this why you were talking like fume? Mama Gozi shook her head. My daughter, be careful. Not everyone walking on the street is ordinary. Sometimes the poor man you are feeding could be testing your heart. That night, as Chaka lay on her bed, the words repeated in her head. The poor man you are feeding could be testing your heart. She turned on her side and looked at Sum to her younger brother fast asleep beside her. She thought about their life, how hard it had been. No parents, no help, just struggles and survival. And yet here she was still finding space in her heart for someone who had nothing. Maybe Mama Gozi was right. Maybe life itself was a test. And maybe, just maybe, Uncle Jay wasn't who she thought he was. The next morning, she woke up earlier than usual. She felt nervous, like something strange was coming. She just couldn't explain it, but she felt it in her body. By 6:30 a.m., she reached Coal Camp Junction. He was there waiting as always. But today, as he stepped into the K, he looked at her and said something new. Chaka. She froze. She had never told him her name. Papa, how do you know my name? He smiled. I hear things. She swallowed. What kind of things? He didn't answer. The other passengers climbed in, and Chamaka started, but her hand shook on the steering. Who is this man? How did he know her name? What did he mean by I hear things? When they got to the usual spot, he stepped down slowly and looked at her with eyes that were no longer tired, but calm and sharp. Thank you, he said as always. But this time, he added, very soon you will understand. Then he turned and walked away. Chamaka sat still for a moment, her hand on the key and her heart